You are not stuck because life is hard. You are stuck because you abandoned a part of yourself to survive. Carl Jung believed that when this happens, life stops moving, motivation fades. Meaning disappears. Not to punish you, but to force you inward. Until you face what you buried, your future will keep repeating your past. So why do the same problems keep returning? Why does motivation vanish when change begins? And why does the life you want always feel out of reach? You feel stuck, but you can't fully explain why. On the outside, your life might look fine, maybe, even successful, yet inside there is a quiet frustration that never really goes away. You wake up, go through the day, do what is expected of you, and repeat the same routine again and again. You tell yourself to be grateful, to stop overthinking, to push harder. But no matter how much effort you make, something feels blocked. It's like you're walking in circles instead of moving forward. This feeling doesn't come from laziness or lack of ambition. It comes from living a life that no longer feels connected to who you truly are. And the more you ignore this feeling, the stronger it becomes. Most people believe they feel stuck because of external problems. They blame their job, their past, their relationships, or bad luck. But deep down, you know that even if those things changed, the same emptiness would follow you. That's because the real reason you feel stuck isn't outside of you, it's inside. It's the part of you that has been silenced for years, the thoughts you never allowed yourself to think, the emotions you learned to hide, the desires you buried because they didn't fit who you were supposed to be. You didn't lose yourself all at once. You slowly walked away from yourself to survive, to be accepted, to be safe. Carl Jung believed that when a person feels stuck, it means their inner world is demanding attention. Life slows you down when you refuse to listen. The anxiety, the boredom, the confusion are not punishments, they are signals. Signals that you have been living on the surface for too long. You've been adjusting to the world instead of understanding yourself. And until you turn inward and face what you've been avoiding, nothing outside will truly change. Feeling stuck is not the end of your journey. It is the moment your real journey begins. You believe you are in control of your life. You think your choices come from logic, personality, or circumstances. But according to Carl Jung, this is only partly true. A much larger force is operating beneath your awareness, quietly influencing what you do, how you react, and the direction your life takes. This force is the unconscious. It holds everything you never fully faced. Old fears, unfinished emotions, forgotten memories, and truths you were not ready to accept. Even though you don't think about these things anymore, they still live inside you, shaping your behavior in ways you don't notice. This is why you often react before you think. You feel anxious without knowing why. You avoid certain opportunities even when they seem right. You sabotage progress at the last moment or feel exhausted for no clear reason. These reactions are not random. They are messages from your unconscious. Jung believed that when the unconscious is ignored, it does not stay silent. It expresses itself through patterns. Patterns in relationships, work, habits, and emotional reactions. You may believe you are making new choices, but deep down, you are repeating old responses formed long ago. The uncomfortable truth is that until you become aware of these inner forces, they will continue to run your life. Jung famously said that, when the unconscious is not made conscious, it directs your life and you call it fate. Feeling stuck is often the result of this inner conflict. One part of you wants change while another part fears it. And the part you are unaware of usually wins, not because it is stronger, but because it operates in the dark. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you begin to see what has been hidden, You regain the ability to choose instead of react. The unconscious doesn't just store random memories. It contains a specific part of you that Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not evil or dangerous by nature. It is simply the parts of yourself you learned to hide. From a young age, you discovered that some emotions, traits, or desires were not welcomed. Maybe anger led to punishment. Maybe sensitivity led to shame. Maybe curiosity or ambition made others uncomfortable, so you adapted. You pushed these parts down and presented a version of yourself that felt safer and more acceptable. Over time, the rejected parts slipped out of awareness, forming the shadow, but the shadow does not disappear just because you ignore it. It waits, and the longer it stays hidden, the more power it gains. It begins to influence your life indirectly. It shows up as sudden emotional reactions, deep insecurity, jealousy, fear of being seen, or an urge to destroy what you care about. You may think these reactions mean something is wrong with you, but Jung believed the opposite. They're signs that something inside you wants to be acknowledged. The shadow is not trying to ruin your life. It is trying to be recognized. This is where many people remain stuck. They spend their lives trying to improve the version of themselves they already accept while completely ignoring the parts they fear. They chase positivity, confidence, and success, hoping it will fix the emptiness. But wholeness does not come from adding more light. It comes from integrating the dark. The shadow holds not only pain, but also strength, creativity, and truth. When you deny it, you deny your own energy. Jung believed that real growth begins the moment you stop running from your shadow. When you turn toward it with honesty instead of judgment, something shifts. The energy that once worked against you begins to work with you. This is not an easy process, but it is the only way out of feeling stuck. Until the shadow is faced, it will continue to control your life from behind the scenes. One of the most confusing things about the shadow is how quietly it keeps you trapped. It does not stop you in obvious ways. Instead, it works through repetition. You find yourself in the same situations again and again, even when you promise yourself things will be different this time. The faces change, the details change, but the emotional outcome stays the same. The same disappointments, the same frustrations, the same sense of regret. This is not bad luck. According to Carl Jung, this is the shadow pulling you back toward what feels familiar. The shadow's main goal is not growth. Its goal is safety. Even pain can feel safer than the unknown. When you start moving toward change, the unconscious often reacts with fear. It reminds you of past failures, awakens anxiety, or creates doubt. Suddenly you hesitate. You procrastinate. You convince yourself that now is not the right time. This is how people sabotage opportunities without realizing it. It is not because they don't want success. It is because success threatens the old identity they built to survive. This is why some people stay in unfulfilling relationships, remain in jobs they hate, or avoid expressing their true thoughts. The shadow associates honesty and change with danger, so it pulls you back into old roles and habits. You might even feel tired or unmotivated whenever you try to move forward. This exhaustion is not physical. It is psychological resistance. The unconscious is trying to protect you from inner conflict. Jung believed that until this pattern is made conscious, it will repeat endlessly. Awareness breaks the cycle. The moment you notice when fear is coming from the past instead of the present, you regain choice. You stop calling it fate. You start seeing it as a signal. Feeling stuck is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that something inside you is asking to be seen and understood. As the shadow grows in the background, another part of you takes center stage. Carl Jung called this part the persona. The persona is the version of yourself you present. To the world, it is shaped by expectations, rules, and roles. It knows how to behave, what to say, and what not to reveal. In many ways, the persona is useful. It helps you function in society, maintain relationships, and survive in the world. The problem begins when you forget that it is only a mask over time. Many people start to believe that their persona is who they truly are. They identify with their role, their image, their reputation. They become the reliable one, the strong one, the successful one, or the agreeable one. Anything that does not fit this image gets pushed into the shadow. Fear, anger, doubt, sadness, and even creativity are hidden away to protect the mask. On the outside, everything may look fine. On the inside, something feels missing. This is where emptiness begins. The more energy you put into maintaining the persona, the further you drift from your inner truth. You begin to live according to what is acceptable instead of what is real. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay silent when you want to speak. You play roles so well that you forget there was ever something behind them. Jung believed that this is one of the main reasons people feel lost. They are not living as themselves. They are performing themselves. Eventually, the persona starts to crack. This often happens during moments of failure, loss, or emotional breakdown. The mask can no longer hold everything together. While this feels painful, Jung saw it as necessary. The breakdown of the persona is not a disaster. It is the beginning of honesty. It creates space for the real self to emerge. Feeling stuck often means the mask you've been wearing no longer fits, and your inner world is demanding something more real. Most people sense that something deeper is going on inside them, but they avoid looking too closely, not because they are weak, but because looking inward can feel threatening. Facing your inner world means questioning the identity you have built and the beliefs you rely on. It means admitting that some of the ways you live, react, and cope may no longer serve you. Modern culture encourages this avoidance. You are taught to stay positive, to move on quickly, to suppress uncomfortable emotions. Pain is seen as something to get rid of, not something to understand. Growth is framed as improvement, not integration. But Carl Jung believed that real transformation does not happen on the surface. It happens when you are willing to slow down and listen to what your discomfort is trying to tell you. Anxiety, boredom, and emotional numbness are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that something important is being ignored. People often fear that if they look inward, they will fall apart. They worry that facing old pain will overwhelm them or make them weaker. Jung believed the opposite. What weakens you is not feeling, but suppressing. What traps you is not pain, but avoidance. The energy you spend holding everything together is the same energy that keeps you stuck. When you stop resisting your inner experience, that energy is released. Feeling stuck is often the moment when avoidance no longer works. The old distractions stop helping. The old goals lose their meaning. This is not failure. It is a turning point. Life is pushing you inward because something within you is ready to be understood. The discomfort you feel is not an enemy. It is an invitation to meet yourself honestly for the first time. Most people believe the solution to feeling stuck is self-improvement. They think they need to become more confident, more disciplined, more productive, or more successful. They chase better habits, better routines, and better versions of themselves. While these things can help on the surface, Carl Jung believed they often miss the deeper problem. You cannot improve your way into wholeness. You cannot fix something that was never broken. The feeling of being stuck does not come from being insufficient. It comes from being divided within yourself. Jung believed that real growth is not about adding new traits, but about integrating the parts of yourself you left behind. Wholeness means allowing all aspects of your inner world to exist without shame. It means recognizing that light and dark, strength and vulnerability, confidence and fear are all part of being human. When you reject parts of yourself, you lose access to the energy they contain. When you welcome them back with awareness, that energy becomes available to you again. This is why self-improvement often feels exhausting. You are constantly pushing against yourself instead of listening to yourself. You're trying to become acceptable instead of becoming real. Wholeness feels different. It feels grounded. It feels honest. You stop forcing change and start understanding it. As awareness grows, behavior naturally shifts. You don't need to fight yourself as much because you are no longer split inside, according to Jung. When you integrate the shadow and loosen your attachment to the persona, your life begins to move again. Choices feel clearer. Motivation returns not because you are pushing harder, but because your actions align with your inner truth. Feeling stuck dissolves when inner conflict is resolved. You are no longer trying to escape yourself. You are learning how to live with yourself fully. Carl Jung believed that the real turning point in a person's life happens when awareness begins. Awareness does not mean understanding everything at once. It simply means noticing. Noticing your reactions, your patterns, your fears, and your emotional responses without immediately judging or suppressing them. When you bring attention to what was once automatic, you begin to take your power back. The unconscious loses its grip the moment it is seen. This is what Jung meant when he said that what is made conscious no longer controls you from the dark. At first, this awareness can feel uncomfortable. You may notice things about yourself that challenge the image you've been holding onto. You may see how fear has shaped your choices, how avoidance has limited your life, or how old wounds still influence your present. This is not meant to shame you, it is meant to free you. Awareness does not demand perfection, it demands honesty. And honesty is the doorway to change. When you start observing instead of reacting, something shifts inside you. You pause where you once rushed, you reflect where you once avoided, you respond instead of repeating old habits. This is how patterns begin to break. Not through force, but through understanding. Jung believed that awareness creates space, and in that space, new choices become possible. Feeling stuck often means that awareness is knocking. Life is slowing you down so you can see what you've been running from. When you stop fighting this process, clarity begins to emerge. You start to understand why certain things never worked, why certain paths felt wrong, and why certain fears kept returning. Awareness reconnects you to yourself, and from that connection, movement naturally returns. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer walking against your own inner truth. Finding yourself does not mean creating a new identity or reinventing your personality. Carl Jung called the true process of finding yourself individuation. It is the slow and honest journey of becoming who you already are beneath the conditioning, expectations, and fear. Individuation is not about standing out or becoming special. It is about becoming real. It asks you to align your outer life with your inner truth. Even when that truth is uncomfortable, this process is rarely smooth. As you begin to live more honestly, old identities start to fall away. You may outgrow roles, relationships, or goals that once defined you. This can feel like loss. You may feel confused, vulnerable, or unsure of who you are becoming. Jung believed this confusion is a necessary stage. Before the real self can emerge, the false self must loosen its grip. What feels like falling apart is often the beginning of integration. Individuation happens in small moments, speaking when you would normally stay silent, resting without guilt, leaving what no longer fits. listening to your inner voice instead of external approval. These choices may seem small, but they rebuild your sense of self from the inside. Over time, you feel more grounded, less reactive, less driven by fear. You begin to trust yourself, because you are no longer betraying yourself. When you walk this path, life does not become perfect, but it becomes meaningful. Pain still exists, but it no longer controls you. Fear still appears, but it no longer decides for you. You stop chasing yourself in the future and start meeting yourself in the present. This is what Jung meant by finding yourself. Not becoming someone new, but remembering who you were before you learned to hide. Feeling stuck is not a flaw in your character. It is not proof that you failed or that something is wrong with you. According to Carl Jung, it is a sign that your soul is asking for your attention. It appears when the life you are living no longer matches the person you are becoming. The discomfort you feel is not there to punish you. It is there to wake you up. It is life's way of saying that it is time to stop running, stop performing, and start listening. When you face what you have avoided, something powerful happens. The fear that once controlled you begins to lose its grip. The confusion starts to make sense. The parts of yourself you rejected begin to return, not as enemies, but as lost pieces of your wholeness. You stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing change. You start moving forward naturally, guided by awareness instead of fear. Wholeness does not mean having no darkness. It means no longer being afraid of it. It means accepting that every part of you has a purpose, even the parts that once caused pain. When you bring those parts into the light of awareness, they transform. What once held you back becomes the source of your strength. What once made you feel broken becomes the foundation of your depth. Carl Jung believed that the greatest task of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not the version shaped by fear, expectation, or survival, but the version shaped by truth. The moment you stop running from yourself is the moment life begins to move again. You are not lost, you are being called inward. And when you answer that call, you don't just find yourself. You finally come home. Jung believed these are not problems, they are signals. And understanding them changes everything.